righty, folks. I see a few people piling over here now. So with the early crowd, let's, if you folks got questions for me, please get those in. That's what I'm here for, to help answer questions pertaining to the software of Trade Ideas. Do my best to get you folks those answers. I don't know everything about the software, but I have a fairly good handle to hopefully get you folks moving in a positive direction with the software itself. So again, don't be shy, folks. I don't have any pre-done content as per usual. Let you folks drive the content with your questions. So please make sure you're getting those questions in there for me. Well, looks like that auto strategy I talked about last week is taking this position in ACRS here. Again, folks, don't be shy. Please get those questions in for me. Looks like a lot of trades were taken on this today. All right, very interesting stuff. Yeah, folks, yep, I'm here waiting on your questions. Don't be shy. Get those questions in for me. As I always say, I cannot answer the questions that are not asked. Anything and everything Trade Ideas wise is fair game. Love to make sure that I'm helping and getting the answers to the questions you folks have. Still waiting on those questions to come in from you all. Don't be shy. Please get those questions in for me. Right? Super important. All right, clearly nobody has any questions today. It's a little unfortunate, but all right. So I guess we could talk a few charts here. I'll look at, well, brought up ACRS. It's going to win another race here on my relative strength from the open scan. So, we see we've got a lot of volume, a lot of liquidity last couple of days here. Started some time ago. Get out the drawing tool there. There we go. There's the drawing tool. We can see back here, really beginning of an uptrend with that volume. Volume tapered off. Price action moved up. Clearly some positive reactions to earnings where the sellers just couldn't really have their way. I would suspect some other kind of news came out with this yesterday, and this thing has been really off to the races since then. So very interesting, very cool. We've got well off a lifetime high. Crazy volume and liquidity here. Now let's take a look back, and clearly I had some interest in the stock at some point here. I'm going to leave that line up. Actually, I was going to delete it, but that must have been a long, long time ago that I had some interest in this stock. Yep. Going back to 2020. You can see this thing was beyond off to the races. It's really beaten up ever since then. Filling this gap right here now, fighting with $5. So interesting, very interesting look here. Dan, I use multiple brokers. I use Schwab. I use TD Ameritrade. You know, it was, I'm sorry, not TD Ameritrade. I use Schwab. I have two different Schwab accounts, actually. I have an account through Thinkorswim, and then I have a long-term account in Schwab. They're separate accounts within Schwab. So I guess I use two brokers now, and I also use Interactive Brokers. I use them both. So I guess I used to use Schwab, TD Ameritrade, and IB, but TD Ameritrade, you know, got bought out by Schwab some time ago. So that Thinkorswim account of mine moved over. I've used Fidelity in the past. I played around with Robinhood when it came out just to see what the hype was about it and all that. I mean, a broker is a broker is a broker. Outside of, you know, IB does make you pay for commissions, and if you want any live data from IB, you do have to pay them for that as well. You know, depending on where people are in their trading journey, how much that impacts them is kind of subjective a bit. I don't use IB as heavy as I used to. I do a little more through Thinkorswim the last year plus. Fidelity was fine. It was just that there's no integration with Fidelity because they don't allow for an API. So I kind of just I went to try Thinkorswim because also Thinkorswim went no commissions before Fidelity did, and you know, and Fidelity was very archaic in their commissions. Still, it was still like $5 in, $5 out at that time, which was, you know, kind of ridiculous. So I'd left Fidelity and I never went back. I'm sure now that there's zero commissions, they're the same thing as Thinkorswim at this point. So I don't think one poses an advantage over the other. I don't use any of their bells and whistles either, to be honest, for the most part. You know, I just the order entry panels, and that's it. I don't care about any of the tools within them. They're irrelevant to me. You know, my tool is Trade Ideas. So I used to like trading through Brokerage Plus more, so that's why I still have my IB account. I have a smaller account there. I still do some trading through it each week, I'd say, but I do the heavy lifting in Thinkorswim. You go with E-Trade then. There's no commissions in E-Trade. We link to them. I've never used E-Trade. You know, I've had users come in and complain about E-Trade and their API and the orders going through. I've had other users that say it's absolutely fine. So, you know, is it E-Trade's API? Is it the users? It's some combination thereof. You know, it starts to become a he said, she said game. You know, it's never a good thing to blame a user for their struggles. You know, I don't think that's a great idea. But it's very tough when you've got, you know, let's just say over the course of a year, I deal with 1,000 people, you know, with E-Trade and questions. And, you know, you've got literally 50% of them are like, it's great, it works fine. And then another 50% of them is like, I have this problem, I have this problem, I have this problem. Well, you know, it's just tough. Where does the problem lie? You know, so you just troubleshoot people the best they can in each situation and hope it works itself out. That's really all that can be done. So that's, you know, that's what I could, it was the short and skinnies that I could give you on that there. If you got other questions, get those in. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of go down the list here on what's happening with the scan up until other questions come in. And again, always please get those questions in, folks. Don't, you know, if I don't know the answer, if it's not appropriate for this platform, you know, so be it. We'll move on with it there. But I'll be honest, I don't think I've really had many inappropriate questions over the years. You know, 99.99999% have been just fine questions. So please, there is an occasion I may not have an answer right away. I may have to do a little research and get back to you on it, but I'll always do my best to never leave anybody hanging. I don't ever want to leave anybody hanging on a question here. It doesn't benefit us as a company to not help you, right? Do our best always to really knock these things out and make sure everybody's moving the way that they need to move. So with that said, we'll jump through some charts here until some more questions come in. So BIVI, it's been second place a few races here as ACRS is kind of taken over. There goes BIVI taking over. So decent liquidity. The relative volume isn't anything on it, but we got to consider this happened here. And so now we're here. And so you've got 1.69 million shares traded. So it's by all intents and purposes, a liquid stock. It's trading the people in and out of it nonstop right now. Just that relatively speaking, because you have these days that are still being counted on that relative volume, not quite the same volume. But I mean, it's very interesting in the sense that, you've got this massive move up here and it never sold all the way back up. Interest has remained in it. And this is going on weeks now, right? This isn't like a couple of days here. We're talking about, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks going on now that the interest has stayed high enough to keep this here and keep it above. You got $4 to fight with here. You got that high, and then you're really running. And it's not to say that you'll see it get hung up on $4. It's not to say you'll see it get hung up here. It could get hung up on both. It could get hung up on neither, right? We just look at areas of possible reversals or stopping points on the way up. So interesting chart, both from an intraday perspective and a longer terms perspective than just intraday. Very interesting chart here. So there you have it, sports fans, BIVI. Let's continue to move down here. Let's get down the list. LGMK. Not interesting on the daily chart whatsoever. This is interesting because IB is not giving data on this right now to me. So this tells me it's some kind of weird stock, I guess. No data beyond. Interesting. Who are you? What are you? Interesting. All right. That all said here, made quite the move. It came in, continued to sell off from yesterday, and then something got this thing real sparky and frisky, getting it to move over $1, about $1, I'm sorry, on that move from the bottom to the top here. It's clearly gone off again. So it's going to be, plenty of liquidity there, 1.3 million shares traded on it, but that's not an awesome looking chart as far as trying to be conservative with managing risk. Not when you've got moves that happen this fast like that, but it's there. Certainly a tradable idea. Other people may consider it less tradable than others, but there nonetheless. XCUR, another one kind of tough. I mean, this thing is wacky on the daily chart here, right? All these topping shadows and big gap up and move down and all that stuff like that, and more topping shadows. Clearly, some volume in there without any question here. Small float. So this thing turns on a dime, obviously. Another tough trader here. Real tough trader on this one. So ME. What do we look like? Another one. I mean, just look at these bottoming shadows that are happening on these things here. I will note that a lot of this has been pharmaceutical and biotechs, right? So I think that's important to keep in mind here. Those things can really, really turn on a dime on you. ME. BBAI, not to be confused with the BIVI. So this thing was really off to the races out the gate. Solid percent move here from here to here. Real clean. Really kind of giving it up at this point. But on a daily chart, it's grinding higher ever so slowly, but you can't ignore that, right? It's probably another AI stock. What inning are we in the AI bubble? I don't know. And, you know, before someone's like, oh, Chris said it's an AI bubble. Bubbles are great. I love bubbles. All right. You just manage risk, have a trading plan. And if you could be on the right side of that bubble for a long enough period of time, I mean, it's the kind of thing that could end up being life changing for people. It is the thing that, it is a thing that ends up being life changing for many people, as a matter of fact. But it could be life changing good or life changing bad if you're on that wrong side of that bubble, right? Life changing bad. But bubbles are great. This AI bubble started a year and a half ago, a little more probably, as things sold back off on it. Great example of this would be PLTR. Kind of getting out of what I was doing with the top 10 here, but I don't think anybody really cares. So I'm just going to do whatever I feel like doing until questions come in, right? That's how this can work. If we look at Palantir, right, this thing gets released and, woof, great beginning move. And then, the AI bubble was kind of fading or whatever. And, Palantir was really a sufferer of this, right? Sufferer of this. And it just came way down for a long time. But here we go again, AI bubble waking back up and just really taking off, and I think so Palantir is a good indicator of this. And, there's a lot of AI related stocks out there that have done some crazy stuff. LUNR, AI related. CORZ is going to be AI related. AAOI is going to be AI related. IONQ going to be AI related. So these are the things that we gotta, chance favors the prepared mind. That's how this works, right? And so, years ago you had the China bubble and then the blockchain bubble, right? I don't know. There's probably some other bubbles that I can't think of that have gone on in the last decade. And like I said, when these things unwind, not awesome to be on the wrong side of it. But if they don't unwind, before they unwind, if they give some tradable moments in here, like I said, good risk management, good planning. It's not just running out and buying crap for the sake of buying crap, right? It's about having a plan and a risk management plan based on these ideas, and these ideas can be generated right through the software here. I think, those are the things that you want to be leveraging. Work still has to be done, right? There's no shortcuts on this stuff. Anyways, a bit of a tangent here. I don't know why I went off on that tangent. Oh, because BBAI was on here and it was it's an AI related stock. That's why. And again, folks, don't be shy. Get those questions in. All right, I guess I'll continue down this line while, again, I'm getting the silent treatment. SPAI, I have to suspect another AI-related stock here. Kind of strange. So clearly a newer issue stock. Very small float. Plenty of liquidity. Relative volume's a little tough on us because it's so new. Yeah, we've got 30 days to go back, no problem. That's what the relative volume's looking back 30 days. So it's easy peasy in that regard. But I would say, people are looking for, anybody that's got good trade management and they're looking to punch some home run kinds of cards with that good trade management and idea generation, SPAI could be one of those. Apart from E-Trade and IB, are there other brokers to link? Alpaca kind of, but Alpaca is a little tougher for linking and everything like that. And they don't have an actual interface for trading. So they need our brokerage plus for the trading. That's it though, those three. So, all right, yeah, Austin and moved to Naples, Florida. Answering both your questions and killing two birds with one stone. IB is the best. E-Trade is, I won't say it's next best, but it's easy for linking. Alpaca has a little more complications than the rest because there's more steps with Alpaca. That's what it is. There's more steps with Alpaca. But I mean, I know there are people that are using it. I don't hear from them almost ever. So, I like when I don't hear from users, because generally when I don't hear from users, it means everything's going well for them. And that's what we want to see, both from a software standpoint and a trading standpoint. So I've only ever used IB as far as it goes. I've been using this with IB since 2019 sometime. Towards the end of 2019, sometime in the early fourth quarter of 2019, I started using Trade Ideas linked to IB through Trader Workstation. I have never had one problem, ever. That's not to say there hasn't been problems that haven't popped up with other people. It's almost always international users. There's always some kind of time frame thing that happens to them where their computer's on one time, Trader Workstation's on another, Trade Ideas is on another, and it ends up causing them issues. Outside of that, the only other bug I could ever say that I've ever seen with IB is for people that are trying to like micro scalp stocks, like penny stocks, and trying to put in like sub-dollar stops that go to the fourth decimal. That's just not possible. IB doesn't really allow for it like that through the API. So also, generally speaking, as close to 100% without being 100% of people that try to trade like that fail. That's probably the highest fail rate of any traders that are out there by a large margin. So first, I would tell you, don't do that. And I think the people that are trading like that aren't looking to integrate with IB and Trade Ideas anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. But the few that have tried, clearly not work. Yes, you need Trader Workstation. You need their software. Our software needs to talk to their software. So you need to be an IB Pro. You need to have an IB Pro funded account, and then you download Trader Workstation, launch Trader Workstation, and link into their API from our software. My personal opinion is there are no successful people trading from their phones. That's all just a show, dog and pony show by influencers and all that. Successful traders are at their desktop putting in hard work all the time. Trading is hard. There's no shortcuts. There's no easy. And I really don't think there's anybody trading from their phones successfully. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure you've got the very outliers that bought, whatever Bitcoin or some other kind of coin and then ended up having it go on a run and sold it for a ton of money. That's not trading. That's a lottery ticket that they got lucky with. You have to pay them for data, the API data. It depends on if you're trading more than $30 worth of commissions a month. It'll cost you like $4 and change. If you're not, it'll cost you $14 and change. As far as our software, if you want to be a premium user, you're going to be on the desktop. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that one. If you're just using basic, you could use a web version, the market dashboard, as a web version from a non-Windows based platform. So, all mobile devices are going to be non-Windows. There's no mobile device with Windows. So you would be looking at these sets of scans that are in here on the dashboard on a mobile basis, whether you want from here, the momentum waves, deep dive, sectors in play, high short float. These items in here, that's what you would be, you would have to work with as a mobile user. That's the only mobile option, no apps or anything like that. How would I approach education? I would give you the link. I would give you this link here. I would give you that link. That's how you connect to Interactive Brokers. I did a video there. It's an updated video. Can it work to buy? You'd have to create your own alert windows for this. You know, there's no bot you just plug in and make money. That no such thing exists like that. I know there's probably someone in here that's looking at the money machine or something like that and hoping for it. You know, that's our management's hope. They're working very hard to see if we can get a proper integration for such a high volume system like that to work. All in testing at this point. So, you know, as far as that goes, we could just leave that off the table. The only way to any automation right now is for you to create your own alert window and then load it into Brokerage Plus, set the trading instructions, and have it automate that way. There's no bot you can just buy, plug in, and make money. If, as I've told many people, if there was, the market would be easy, everybody would be doing it, and we'd all be rich. I certainly wouldn't be here right now, right? If I had a bot I could just plug in and make money, I'd be doing a lot of other things in life. And there's no linking to IB via any web source. You have to be on the Windows download software to link to IB or E-Trade or Alpaca. There is no web linking. I don't know if there ever will be. And if there is, it will not be in the calendar year 2024. And I find it highly unlikely it will be in the calendar year of 2025. Very best scenarios is subjective. My personal filters, you know, I put a minimum amount of shares traded in it. You know, what you see here for scans, this is it for me. I don't have any hidden scans or anything like that. So, you know, I can duplicate this out and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing here. Duplicate the free floating window. Stop. Configure. Advanced. So, you know, what you see here is it. Excuse me, I had a sneeze coming on. So, you know, in order to get on this scan here, you have to trade at least 400,000 shares on the day. I'm using an intraday volume here with just a very small value, but to make sure that's consistently trading. I don't want to see stocks that traded, you know, it traded 10,000 shares, don't trade for an hour, traded 30. You know, what kind of realistic? There is no realistic returns you can expect. It's what you put in. There's no promises. There's no guarantees in trading, right? This is idea generation. What you do with the ideas from there is up to you completely, right? You know, we're not looking at people's broker accounts, you know, but we all know what the statistics are on trading, right? They're not, it's a high failure rate, but it's a high failure rate because people don't put in the work. You know, if more people put in the work, I think there'd be a less, that failure rate would be a lot less high than it is. But most people just want to get in and try to buy and make a bunch of money, and they don't want to do any of the work on, you know, everybody that fails at trading, none of them can answer what the question, what does risk management mean to you? So, you know, that's the biggest thing here. If you think of trade ideas as the shovel and the bricks and the mortar and the hammer and the nail gun and the sheetrock and the plumbing and the pipes and the electric wire, we're all those things. What you do to build the house, though, is up to you, if you think of it in that kind of term, right? So that's what I'm doing in that scan there. You know, things people could do to try to stay away from the thinner traded stocks, right? So let me bring over an alert window configure instead of that configure there. You know, we start with volume, right? Because that's how we get rid of VOLUME. We start with volume because it's how we're going to get rid of the thinner stuff. And, I would suggest to people start with the minimum amount of shares traded on the day. Now, some of this becomes subjective, like anything else in technical analysis, right? If you put 1 million on there, you may not see the stock till it's really ran, right? And it started running at, let's say, 400,000 or 500,000 shares, right? If you put, 60, 70,000 on there, you might get a bunch of alerts, and then the thing never trades up over 150, 300, 400,000 shares for the entire day. It's not real liquid in that regard, right? So, there's no perfect happy medium on this, but I would say that, you can couple this with some other stuff in there, whether it's a 1 minute, 5 minute, 10-minute volume. For some people that want to stay away from anything that's ever thinly traded, you can start to look at the 5, 10, and 3-month daily averages, throw that in there. Those are some different ways to kind of slice and dice as far as volume goes. There's the relative volume filter. That's a ratio looking back at 30 days. So 1 is normal, 2 is 2 times, 3 is 3 times, 4 is 4 times. So, you could couple that with some of these other volume metrics in the sense of saying, all right, I don't want to see anything that trades less than 100,000 shares a day for the last 3 months, but I also want to see it that it's traded at least, let's say, 350,000 shares on the day, but it also needs to have a relative volume of, let's say, 3. So it's doing 3 times what it would normally be doing to this point in the day also. And so that's a way to kind of roundabout look for stocks that are less likely to be thin throughout the day. Of course, something could have a great move early on in the first 1, 2, 3 hours of the day, and the bottom could get pulled out of it at some point, right? Where it doesn't necessarily collapse in price, but the volume's all of a sudden kind of gone and dried up. Always a possibility, right? The best resources, first making sure you understand candlestick charting or bar charting, just understand charting in general. The next is to understand indicators and then figure out what indicators matter to you, right? We don't do a ton of education on that kind of stuff. If you have questions on indicators, we don't know everything about every single indicator. We know stuff about some indicators, but on any of these here, get out of that. On anything in here, as far as these items, we have help pages. So if you select something and you click help, you're going to get a web page that looks like this. So whether it's one of the alerts or an indicator in the filters, for example, what does average true range mean? Bang, get a help page on it. And then, I do, what I did when I was learning, because I have no finance background whatsoever. I'm 100% self-taught in everything we're discussing here. I did web searches, right? I didn't know what RSI meant. I was doing web searches and looking up YouTube videos. What does RSI mean? What does simple moving average? What does gap mean, right? What does, what is S1, S2, R1, R2, right? All these different things like that. Bollinger Bands. What do Bollinger Bands mean? What does standard deviation mean? I learned a lot of these things. I don't use almost any of them at this point now, but I needed to start to understand technical analysis. There's a ton out there. Not exactly. We have our trade wave. So let me get on a more liquid stock. So we have what we call our trade wave here. So I'm going to put it on the chart here. When I click this trade wave, you're going to see some buy and sells come on this chart here. So you see this B here and this S here. Those are, buy and sells based off an indicator that we created. Like anything else, you're not going to blindly follow it. If you do, you're not likely to make money. But the idea is to try to give people some assistance in building a trading plan, help people maybe get out of trades a little sooner, stay in trades a little longer when they're profitable, get out when the tide might be turning. So, we have that there, but there's nothing you can feed into this and say, tell me when to buy and tell me when to sell. Again, there's no platform like that exists that's going to make you money that I know of. If there was, again, be a different world we're living in as far as stocks. Nope. No identifying of those things. We can scan for some of that kind of stuff. Again, alert window. So if we come to an alert window and we go to geometric patterns, we have these geometric patterns here like that. There are some outside the box ways to create, let's say, a bull flag or something like that. So one of the folks that works here has been doing this for a very, very long time. Great trader. Andy came up with bull flag scan. And so I'll share a cloud link to it for anybody that might be interested in it. Before I go into the details, and he did an outside the box way of thinking here, right? So he took a bunch of different indicators, right? And was able to do this. So he said, let's look at stocks between price X and price Z. They got to be up this much from the close. He put this EPS filter in here to get rid of stocks that have earnings right now. Just an earnings hack, essentially. Excuse me, he did that to get rid of ETFs, excuse me, the ETF hack. And then he said on the 5-day range, it's got to be between 1% and 5% on that. It's got to be above 75% above the low of yesterday. And it's got to be up at least 3% over these days here, the last 10 days. And so the idea behind that is this is, the 10-day move up is the flag pole itself. And then, chopping around here between these is the flag happening itself. But make sure that we're up from yesterday to really make sure that flag is got a solid pole underneath it here. So it's an outside the box way of thinking. And then, these won't all be perfect, but I'll bet a few of these are going to look pretty good as far as the daily flag goes. So yeah, not too bad. Here's your pole, here's your flag, right? Yes, Trader Workstation is a part of Interactive Brokers. Again, here's your pole, here's your flag. So, we can see here that what Andy created, it's putting out some decent bull flags that are going on right here. What those bull flags turn into, like all of their, technical analysis, your guess will be as good as the next person. But that's some decent looking stuff there, at least on these first few. Another one right there. We can see it's all, holding into that flag right there. So, yep, Trader Workstation is, the software to trade within IB for active actual traders. So it's a download software. You download it to your Windows machine. You log into it, configure the API according to how I shared in that prior video or that prior documentation that goes into a video there. And you'd link it like that. Excuse me, I just got something a little caught in my throat there. So, and yet we have no real partnership with IB. Just, to be clear, they're their own company. We're our own company. If you were to call up IB and ask them about trade ideas, they'd have no idea what you're talking about whatsoever. But you don't need, I would say that half or maybe a little more than half of our users don't use Brokerage Plus to trade at all. So even less than that use Interactive Brokers. I mean, there's probably plenty of our users that use Interactive Brokers, but don't link to trade ideas through it. They don't care about it. They just want to trade through Trader Workstation on their own. They scan with us. I'd say a majority of our users scan with us and do all the trading in their broker themselves. They don't, they don't do anything linking wise with us. They just want the idea generation of the scans they've created through us, and that's it. Excuse me, something really caught on me. So like, here's a good example with the trade wave here. You got this signal to come in at 2303. This stopped you out if you were to follow it at 2282, unfortunate loser. Then you get this buy signal here, and it's, you're still in the money from this buy signal here. Buy signal 2330, right? So the original buy signal still remained good. And that's where having your own risk management to say, it's come back down, but it's, holding around VWAP, and I'd stay in it. And I can say, I traded this today and I did just that. And so that's why having your own trading plan, there's no substitute for it. Know your time frame. Don't change your time frame. Start with that. If you don't have a time frame, you don't have a trading plan, right? So I like 5 and 3 minute charts for my intraday trading. Let the candle close, meaning if all of a sudden I'm interested in something, I got to let the next candle close before I can even consider getting into it. If it leaves without me, so be it. There'll be another opportunity today or tomorrow or next week. If I chase it and I get hurt, I can't undo that hurt, right? So I'd rather miss out on the upside than participate on the downside. I like to look at VWAP intraday, that I'm not too far from it, or whether coming from below or coming from above it. Those are my personal things. I look at the shares traded on it during the day. I look at it, what it's done historically. A lot of stocks have personalities. And then I also look at, what the heck is the other thing I was just thinking of? Shares traded. Oh, the spread, sorry. And I look at the spread. If I've got, if there's an $8 stock and it's got a 20-cent spread, there's very unlikely I'm taking a trade in that with a 20-cent spread. It's just, too risky. Those are the big things for me. Most of my day trading ideas come from this scan up here. This is a homework scan at night. I'm more looking for swing trade ideas in this. I go through the charts each night, but any that I think might have a little oomph for day trading them, I put some price alerts on those going into the next day and seeing how that all works out. OSCR was one of those. I put a price alert in here from yesterday. This thing was already gapping up this morning, but I didn't take a trade in it. Hindsight's 2020. Obviously, if I had taken an early trade in it, it would have worked out well. I also don't trade. It's very, very rare I'll put in a trade before 10:05 a.m. Eastern. I mean, outside of what I just gave you, moved to Naples, I'm not sure what else you're looking for on an answer here. Sorry. I mean, that's the criteria that I'm looking at. These scans put out ideas. I go chart by chart. Yes. Interesting, not interesting, interesting, not interesting, interesting, not interesting. I start setting price alerts, creating if-then scenarios in my head. If this stock does this, then I'm no longer interested. If this stock does this, I will continue to be interested. If this does this and I continue to be interested, I may make an entry based on this. And it all has to do with support, volume, and VWAP for the most part. One of the reasons I couldn't rush into OSCR here, first off, I don't rush. Second, I'm looking left on this here, and this looked like it could be a really troublesome area. And while it had a little bit of juice afterwards on it, the thing was already up, $1.80-ish, $1.75 on a $17 stock. It's hard to go after something like that when I've got all this possible resistance in here. And we can see this thing has got some wide bars price-wise on it, So there's a lot of risk. I'm looking at my risk and my reward. How great is the risk compared to the reward? If I'm risking, to make $1 with the potential to lose $2 is there, I'm at a disadvantage already. Why would anybody in their right mind risk $1, risk to make $1 when they could possibly lose two, right? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So there wasn't a healthy risk reward scenario in this for me. You know, the risk was collapsing all the way back down here. The reward is this area and here. So we're talking about me giving up almost $2, right? To make what? A few cents? Not even $1. It just, there's no planet that risk reward scenario makes sense that I know of. This is, you know, what it is. I don't know what you mean set it up to test with IB. Like, this is scanning, right? We're scanning here. We have our own simulator. You know, outside of that, IB does offer a paper account. And again, in that video that I shared with you and that education link I shared with you, I set up into the paper account, but give the instructions on how to link a full account. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure what you mean test. You want to test trade, we have our own simulator, so it's easy enough. Just click log in, you know, just click connect to it, and that's it. You can start testing trading. Good stuff. Good stuff. Got a couple of more minutes before I wrap up here for the day. So if you've got more questions, please do not be shy. Get those on in here. Don't be shy, everybody. Don't be shy. Get some questions in here for me before I wrap up in a few minutes. Can you channel with this? We have a linear regression filter and alert So that's as close to channeling as we would get. So here's the options that we have. So we've got these alerts here for linear regression, and we have this linear regression filter as well. That'd be as close to channeling as we get, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking if there's anything else channel-wise in here. Nothing specific to channeling, just that, yeah, that linear regression will be the one. Let's see if I can come up with something else that might be of use in that regard. No, that'll do it. Yep. Yeah, that'll do it on the on that. But inner range would be like moving sideways. I mean, we have consolidation breaks and things like that too, right? So, you know, I'm thinking channel, I'm thinking of, you know, like this. Your price is bouncing in the channel like this versus, you know, like that. We do have some stuff like that. As far as alerts go, consolidation alert, different crossed aboves and belows, channel breakout, channel breakdown, consolidation breakouts and breakdowns, crossing above and below resistances and supports. So sideways wise, yeah, a little bit more as far as that goes. All righty, folks, we're coming to the top of the hour here, so I think I'll wrap up for the day. I appreciate you all joining me. If you're not already in the Traders Room with Barry, here's a link to it. You can head back over there. Barry will be coming off his break any moment if he hasn't already. So I give you all a moment to click that link and shift on over to join Barry and the others over there. And as always, I do thank you. I especially appreciate Move to Naples. I always appreciate when people are picking my brain like that. It's much nicer to have a good interaction back and forth with users and potential users here. I mean, look, nobody uses all the filters. Nobody uses everything in the software. It just, you know, the software is beyond immense and vast for so many different traders, right? It doesn't hurt to have some knowledge in all of it. You know, it's never going to hurt. That's for sure. You also never know when you're going to move in a different direction with your trading or the software, right? So for a long time, I'll finish up with this thought here. I really only ever used new high alerts for a long time with the software when I was building alert windows. And then one day I just kind of started playing around with some other stuff, and I came across the crossed above resistance alert. I kind of like that. I don't use alert windows anymore because of the races, but it changed things a little bit for me. I don't know that necessarily made me better in any way. Didn't hurt me in any way either, right? By gaining that knowledge and trial and error and troubleshooting with some other data points that I hadn't used in the past. So there's no negative side to learning these things outside of, if you're already struggling, right? Information overload can always be a problem. So just, consider that, of course. But there's an infinite combination, right, of things you could do. So there's no definition for it. Everything that everybody's going to have an idea of. Each filter has a definition linked to it, and you can make of those what you will, right? So if we look in the configure, and I'll finish up with this here, I do have to go for other things now. If you click on any filter and you press the help button, you're going to get this page here. That's what we'll have on it there. That's everything that we'll have. There will always be questions that, people are going to come with all kinds of scenarios, and we just, 500 data points. There's no way we can account for every scenario that someone's going to come up with in their brain, right? So that's where, user responsibility comes in, and some trial and error and testing and things of those natures. So again, folks, I thank you very kindly. Barry should be coming back from his break any moment if he hasn't already. I can join him with that link that I shared, and we will catch you another day. Thanks again, everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of the week.